advertisers and sponsors or its listening audience. Listener discretion is advised. Good morning and welcome to Your Home, Your Money with your hosts Randy, Jackie, and Anthony right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board right now, send us an email. Our email address is onair@yourteam.pro. And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your hosts of Your Home, Your Money, Randy, Jackie, and Anthony.
Hello, y'all.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome to the show.
That's weird. Every time I say good morning, I think of Robin Williams. Yeah. Good morning, Vietnam. That movie.
Vietnam. No.
You didn't do it as good as me. Forget it.
No, you didn't do it at all.
You're trying to
like
take
me.
my glory. There's something else.
No, I can't remember.
You can't even do it. Look at you.
I can see it, but no, I can't just like totally go off.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Yeah,
Nothing like that.
That was. See, I like Robin Williams. That was not it.
No, but that was good.
These two have been teasing me for the last half an hour. I've already slapped Anthony, pinched his arm. You don't want to know what I did to Randy.
Is it teasing or just the truth, though?
Where did Anthony get this from? You're spending too much time with Randy.
Anyways, before we get to the show, we had a few emails from, I guess, this morning and yesterday. So we had one from Don. Don, sorry. So Don is asking us if we're gonna list a property, and basically had an image, and the image is for all you Harry Potter fans. Harry Potter, when he was, I guess, brought with his, I think it was his uncle or whatever.
You think?
Huh?
Yes.
No, I'm not sure it was uncle. I know he was sent to like one of his family members, and while he was living there, he had to live in basically the closet under the stairs. That was his bedroom. So they want to know if we're going to list that, and it's for the great price of just $800 per month, which might be a bit low in today's market. So.
But it's gone already, so you can't get it.
Yeah, I responded to him, and it was sold. Sorry, he can't get it.
Maybe next time. And we had one from Lori this morning. Lori says, I guess to Randy, myself, and to all the other fathers, Happy Father's Day to Randy and Anthony. So thank you very much, Lori.
Thank you.
Oh, that's really nice of you, Lori. I'm not saying those words.
Maybe that's why you're getting teased this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to disclose what my husband was teasing me about.
No, we're going to leave that alone.
Yes.
It's not something to tell almost 7,000 people about, unless you really
Are
want
you
to.
teasing me?
Unless you really want to. You know that, he's like, you can't, even though he knows if he knocks, they're going to find him and kill him, he has to. So Jackie's very much like that when you start to tease her on things. Did you want to disclose what we were talking about, Sahir?
I don't think people would appreciate you as much anymore.
No, I don't think so either. I'm curious, though, if it's something you want to talk about. Yes, normally she can't hold in. Whatever's in her head usually comes out. And I think I could bring it out, actually, with a little bit of teasing.
No, I got a super, super bad headache today, so that's why I kept telling you, please leave me alone, but you wouldn't.
Oh, I thought I left you.
You kept going. Okay, I'm really slow this morning.
Just like the kids, we're like, you just the whole voice changed. Like you're all perky, and then she says all this stuff to me, and then that one. No. Oh, So you make me get out here.
That's okay. We're bringing Anthony's wife on one day just so she can tease him.
Oh, no. That's,
Well, talk about teasing. Bank of Canada raised the rates, 1/4 point. They're teasing us.
But didn't we know that was coming?
I don't think so.
Well, I don't think so. They didn't give any forward guidance
Yeah,
for
but
that.
inflation is still bad. So.
Inflation, real GDP growth went up 3.1%. Inflation went up 0.01%. Employment went up to 2.4%, and unemployment went down actually to 5.6%. So those were really part of the issues, right? But at the same time, I still felt, even though those numbers weren't going well, that they still weren't going to touch it because, they need about 18 months to really see the effect of what they've done. Only what they say is something like only 15%, 15 to 30%, somewhere around there, of mortgage holders have felt the effect. And so the bigger portion of mortgage holders' problems are coming. They're not here yet. And with the Bank of Canada raising the rates, it just
So you're trying to say
makes the problem worse. And then with the 5 big banks with their mortgage portfolios actually crumbling within and rotting within their institutions to the point where they have to come up with some sort of agreement with their mortgage holders to pay something. It doesn't just give me something. Send me an apple that I can put towards your mortgage or something, an orange as a payment, and we'll let
that's
you
a
stay
good
in the
payment.
house. And so the portfolios of the banks are eroding, and Bank of Canada still says, well, we've got a mandate and it's 2%, and since we're not moving in that direction right now, we have to raise the rate. So I think that it may have been a little bit unexpected on their point, but they felt they needed to drive the point home, because I took the time to watch their hour-long meeting, which is sometimes quite boring. And it seemed like every single newscast or announcer was asking them questions about the rates. And the questions were supposed to be about their monetary policy. And they're like talking about their rates. And he's saying, well, I don't want to talk about rates. I want to talk about why we're here. And almost everybody kept asking questions about the rates. So obviously, that's the biggest thing on Canadians' minds. And at one point, he was very sarcastic, to the point where I had to go and capture the clip, where he smugly said that he hasn't given basically any indication that we're going to be lowering rates. So then for him to come out now and raise the rates really locks that whole argument in, so that people don't have to ask him. But guess what? They're asking him more. What about in July? Are you going to raise the rates? So he didn't really escape it. July is a big announcement time. It's basically, the halfway point of the year is completed, and so they pretty much have like a much bigger a platform that they deliver in July. Will we see rates go up then? The guess is as good yours as it is anybody else's. A lot of people are saying yes. I'm going to continue to hold the line of no, only because I see firsthand a lot of the pain that's going on. And I really don't enjoy it. As one of the articles that our producer there put out, threw me under the bus, is where I'm saying that they want to, I don't know if you guys saw this one, that they want to save the price of bread from going up 50 cents by making our rents and mortgage go up $1,000. That way, you don't have the money to buy the bread, and therefore they can't keep increasing the price. So bankrupt us so that you can bring your inflation in place. But I don't think that's very responsible talk for a real estate holder holding his license with the government. So I should stop, especially since this new legislation. I think Gary knows a little more about it, where they're going to censor, or they are already censoring speech. And good thing that we're not that popular. We only have 6,000 change
What
listeners right now.
what's this centering speech talk? What is this? Like, are you being serious right now, or it's hard to
Gary,
tell
you want to
sometimes?
take over?
Yeah, Parliament here had a bill that Trudeau said he wanted to control what goes over the internet in Canada. And he's putting together in Parliament a bunch of people that will start listening and regulating internet. And if they don't agree with something, they're going to cancel the signal of those particular internet programs.
So if you remember during COVID, where you had some doctors that responsibly, like now we know they were on the right side of things, but responsibly said that they don't necessarily think that this is being handled properly, and we shouldn't make this whatever you want to call that shot mandatory, because there's other ways of handling as well, and they were shut down and they were about to lose their license and that.
They were shut down like by the doctors, whatever.
They were shut down
the
by
College of Doctors or whatever it's
by
called.
anybody who could shut them down. So it would, if it was the medical society, if it was the police, if it was the YouTube police, if it was whatever social media.
I know on social media they would put like disclaimers, not necessarily.
No, sometimes they just ban them out straight. And yes, sometimes they put disclaimers, but most of the time they actually take down that content. Like if they were talking about COVID and it didn't match what it was that the government, I consider kind of propaganda, because realistically speaking, here we all are without any of that stuff. But before, it was like a death wish that if we were to go against them, and now it's not a death wish anymore, but it's not cured. Some people are on their sixth thing.
Are they still
Friends
doing
who
booster
are.
shots?
Yep. I got a friend who he told me the other day, oh yeah, I'm going in for my, I don't know, 5th or 6th, something. And I'm thinking, okay, well, at least you survived them all, and that's good. Some people haven't, right? And but the same way that they'll censor that, come on, think about it. The Bank of Canada, talking negative about the Bank of Canada is not a good thing. It really isn't, because it could make people feel insecure about our economy and our path forward and that, and then blaming, because this is what I've been doing, blaming the Bank of Canada with their monetary policies and the federal government with their fiscal policies and how they merge them together to make unlimited spending for the government, and filling the bank's pockets with this QE maneuver was wrong. And I believe that it's part of the big problem that we're facing now. Bank of Canada is basically bankrupt, losing $500 million every quarter, which we don't hear about in the news anymore, because what we heard about it in Q3 of last year, we heard about it. We haven't heard a word yet, and we're already at halfway through the year. My numbers, when I looked at it, now I'm not a great economist and I'm not a great accountant, so my numbers could be wrong, but I saw in Q4, I thought they lost almost $1 billion in Q4, and I haven't seen it. I got to go now and look and see what they lost in Q1. Nobody's talking about this. Why? Because they don't want us to feel negative about what's going on.
Okay.
And
Well-
and I don't blame them, but as a professional, this may be language that's not acceptable.
Well, that's a very slippery slope if it actually passes, and if the only thing that can be said is stuff that's said by the government, and anything else is that's kind of again those whatever
Unacceptable truckers.
But I don't know. My thing is if it's other countries where you hear about in the news, you hear about Russia, you hear about China, where they can't access Twitter, or they can't access certain things. If that comes here, I think that's a very slippery slope, because it's I don't know.
But what are we going to do about it?
I don't know. But
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to do anything about it.
I hear places like France, they revolt over things this. So we might need something like that. But
what happened? I that's right. I heard about the Yellow Jackets, right? Was it the Yellow Jackets that went around
I don't know.
Did anything come of that, Gary?
I'm sorry. Come about what? I didn't.
I know in France, like usually whenever they oppose something, they'll like kind of coalesce together, like the people, and they'll kind of like have like these big demonstrations against the government. Randy's talking about something like I heard about the Yellow Jackets. I don't really know what that is, but I'm not sure if do you know anything about that or any kind of like demonstrations by the French people in terms of things that they don't agree with by the government.
Yes, I do know about that. It's what it is. It's almost like the truckers thing, right? It's people getting together and they wear yellow jackets. That's basically what that is. But the bottom line is what people in this country already are complaining about is they're thinking that bill did pass. By the way, we were talking about C-11. And the bottom line is they said, this is not Russia, this is not China, this is not a Soviet type of communistic country, and we should have free speech. It's not hate crime, and it's not anything saying, go out and kill a certain person. So they want to have free speech on internet, and they want to be able to watch and read and do things that they want to do. And basically, people are starting to get up in arms around the country that the government here is not going to allow that. So yeah, all it is basically protesting.
Yeah.
So, but did they get anything out of it? Like,
It's ongoing.
It's ongoing. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So Bank of Canada looks like here, they're in the third. No, for a 3-month period ending March 31st, they lost, I don't know if that's 1.5 billion. Is that possible?
It doesn't say if it's billion.
Yeah. No, this is, or is it in the millions?
Net loss here.
That's one.
Yeah, it's 1.5 billion. Yeah, 1,510 million is 1.5 billion.
Yeah, 1.5 billion in the first quarter.
You know, I think they do it on purpose too. When they write it down as 1,510 million,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound as big as when you say 1.5 billion.
1.5 billion. So the Bank of Canada, I'm sorry, we just went on their website, and for did you close that? Can you just hit back there
I don't
for a
know,
second?
'cause you closed mine.
Comprehensive loss. No, I didn't. It's a third tab. Comprehensive income and loss is $1.535 billion for the period ended March 31st.
So is that just for 3 months?
For the first quarter.
Wow.
Okay, that's a company that's bankrupt. Okay, so how does this happen? How do they go do QE? Take forget it. Let's not bother. We'll get canceled. But it's just wrong. It's just wrong, and something needs to be done. I understand he has a hard job, but he has officially bankrupted the Bank of Canada, and now he's trying to bankrupt the Canadians. Take them down the path, all in this game, because he needs this 2% inflation. It's actually troubling. I shouldn't have looked at that right now. I just saw that live on.
You know what's crazy? I took the 1,510 million divided by 40 million people. That's $37 million per person. Unless my math is off, which I don't think so.
What?
Say that again?
If you take 1,510 million,
Yeah.
Yeah, 1.5 billion.
why I kept it in millions because there's 40 million people in the country as well.
So there's 40 million divided
Right.
by 40 million.
Yeah. So-
Yeah.
So 50,
Yeah, you're right. 'cause
so basically in the first quarter we lost $37 million per
Per
person
person.
in Canada.
How?
So 30, 4, 8, 12, yeah.
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 What the heck?
$37 million loss per person.
That makes no sense. How is
No.
that?
It really doesn't. So we gotta
It's not
relook
even
at those
possible.
numbers.
What are
Yeah.
they doing? Giving themselves bonuses or something?
No. What they did, Jack, is they did the QE. That's the thing. That's why I say it should be illegal. The QE, where they bought where they're not allowed to buy the debt. That's what makes this so wrong. They're not allowed to create a bond. The bond's created from the government debt, and they sell it because the government's good at paying back their debt. So then that becomes a financial instrument. The Bank of Canada makes for the federal government. But the Bank of Canada is not allowed to buy that. So they put out, for lack of a better term, they put out a memo to the banks. If you buy this bad debt that nobody wants, I'll buy it back from you and give you extra on top of it. That's basically it. But that's not how their memo reads. It's a lot more professional than that. And it probably more somewhere along the lines is that we're willing to buy how many $1 million worth of debt. You know, let's auction. You guys buy whatever you want and auction it to us, and we'll take the cheapest ones from you. Something like that. Put up some board. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter. The Bank of Canada is buying the debt. And what they're doing is, okay, I want to buy that debt, but I can't. So you buy it, then I'll buy it from you because I can buy it from you. And that.
I was actually off. It's only $40 per person.
40?
It's actually $40 per
Okay,
person.
$40.
That makes more
Okay.
sense.
Woo.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Okay, $40 per person.
Yeah, $37.50. Yeah, that makes okay.
Okay,
then.
so we all lost $40, and that's why we're not revolting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's $1.5 billion for any institution to lose in a quarter. It's very serious, especially an institution that really doesn't have a product. They just print money. And then how do you lose $1.5 billion if you're the guy that prints money? It's because you did this maneuver. So it's just so wrong for that to take place. And us as Canadians, we're all just here riding this wave. We're gonna have to buckle down our belts. You can't spend. We don't have money to spend anyways, but some people do. You see, it's funny because you can tell who the wealthy friends are because they're actually enjoying this. You see, they get to separate themselves, if they're not super vicarious, they get to separate themselves from the issue because their nest egg is big enough to weather it. So they love it. And it's like, you know, and I've even heard the term, it's like a Black Friday event, right? For the country where everything sort of goes on sale at a cheap price, and then the cash rich get to now go ahead and take another leap forward. So they're quite excited to see how this plays out. But it's not playing out good already. But let's move on. So they did raise the rates. C11 bill is in, as Gary is saying. So we do have to be careful what we say. But not only that, we are supposed to be, and this is it, I mean, I don't think I'm anywhere near responsible. I don't have a pedigree to be any kind of leader in the community at all. But since we are on airwaves, I guess in some ways we have to be responsible leaders in some ways. And so we have to be careful what we say. But it is hard to condone the Bank of Canada having a balance sheet that's losing right now. It started off with $500 million in Q3. At the end of the year, that quarter, that fourth quarter, I believe they lost over $1 billion. I think it was like 1.1, I believe. And then now they lost 1.5 billion. And we haven't heard it from one news article. Not one. Not one TV channel, not one article, not even from some rebel. And why? Because obviously you can't talk about it.
Well, is it that, or again, we lost 1.1 billion? Is this? Do they normally lose money quarter to quarter?
Never before in the history of the Bank of Canada have they ever lost money until this gentleman took over. Never before.
Wow.
They've always remitted $1 billion, $2 billion, well, usually around $1 billion, but $2 billion, whatever, to the federal government to be able to put towards the debt or put towards whatever. But now they're losing it. And you're telling me that's not news? You telling me that they lost $1.5 billion and not one person talked about it? We just saw it. We just went on live, and so we're talking about it now. It's insane. And then you got to think, this C11 bill, is it there so that they can send out a memo to all these guys and say, you don't think about talking about this, we'll pull your license.
But again, I don't know what this bill is about.
I don't know.
But if you're going to the website like we just did,
Yes.
and it says they lost 1.5 billion. Why? How can you censor that? I can. I'm not even
No,
looking-
no, they can't censor that because that's the Bank of Canada.
Yeah.
But they can censor you talking about it. Because
They can censor me.
They can censor. Talking about
They can
it.
censor me talking about what they're reporting publicly.
Well,
I can like me.
you're right. I hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I hear you.
Because like if I'm making up stuff, I'm saying, or unless it's I can't talk about it and put my opinion on it. If that's what you're saying, then okay, I don't agree with it, but okay, maybe that's what the bill is. But like, how can you tell me I can't speak about what you as a government have there for anyone? All you have to do is type in the. I'm not sure what you search for, but
Bank of Canada. I went to the Bank of Canada website.
Yeah, so the
I didn't search for
Yeah.
anything. We're here on the bankofcanada.ca.
So, I don't know, it's-
2023-05 quarterfinal report.
to me, you're basically in the motherland. Like you're in Russia. It's like if I
Which we're
can't,
not allowed to talk
yeah,
about.
if I can't talk about what you, I should be able to talk about whatever I want to talk about, regardless. And again, if you don't like, it's not like I'm forced people to watch. It's I have my platform, whatever it is. I'm speaking. Again, you don't have to listen to what I'm saying as long as you're not like, I don't know where the line should be drawn, but if you're just giving your opinion on what is already there, then you take it how you want to take it. Either you agree, you don't agree. Again, I'm not forcing no one by gun to come watch my show. It's just I'm speaking about what you reported. I'm giving my take or my opinion on what's there. And like
You're not allowed to have an
and like you're
opinion.
saying,
Yeah,
if I've always had, again, if Bank Canada has never ever had a negative of a bank balance, that should be big news. Like you're saying, that should be.
I would
Yeah.
think so. That's the part that's confusing to me. And listen, when it first happened, the first time they lost money, which was Q3, they lost $522 million. That was reported. We have never heard another reporting since then. And so it is not something that I ever followed in my life. So it's not like something that I have great knowledge in or anything like that. I'm just following this because we're out here giving information to our clients and to people on the radio and people who listen to us on social media. So we have this little obligation to go and do some homework so we can kind of know a little bit more, even though we don't know a lot about what we're talking about. We know a little bit about what we're talking about. So we grab that information. But the fact that nobody is reporting it, there's got to be a reason, no?
I would think so. Well, this
Yeah.
just came
Anyways,
from Ken. Ken says, "Hello, real estate team," and he says from CTV, so the station. Bill C-11 has passed through Parliament and has become law, imposing requirements on internet streaming, data, and information. Bill C-11 became law after years of pushback by Canadians and conservative politicians. The law basically states that anything the Trudeau or Liberal government do not agree with, they can block, take down, and arrest the poster, administrator, broadcaster, or author of such material. Well, that is crazy. Again, if you can be arrested for, if you're gonna say you're gonna block it, I don't agree with it. But okay, but you're gonna arrest me for saying something that you don't agree with, then that is really something's up there. That's something that we need to be doing the yellow jacket thing like Francis because.
Hey, if
I don't
may,
know, yellow doesn't look good on me. I'm kidding.
I don't call
Go ahead, Gary.
I don't call
If I may, that statement is true, but what they mean, they're not going to knock on your door and arrest you. If you read the bill, and I read all 400 pages of it.
Wow.
What it states is they say you can be subject to arrest when you put out disinformation, meaning like, let's go back to the COVID situation. If I'd say, well, masks really don't do anything, so it's probably an option that you either wear a mask or you don't, but by wearing a mask, we saw that it really didn't help. That's disinformation according to the government. So they can come and say, knock it off if we see any more posts. Here's your warning. We can come and arrest you for supplying misinformation in this country and then being responsible for people getting sick. So that's basically what it says. Initially, there's no arrest. Initially, it'll be take down, stop your IP address from your server so you wouldn't have internet access, all that kind of stuff. So just to clarify that.
Okay, so
To-
misinformation would be the fact that we went on to the Bank of Canada, saw that they're $1.5 billion lost. So the misinformation could be that it's actually 115 million, which is the same as 1.5 billion, but they didn't say 1.5 billion, so it could be misinformation. And the fact that when we did the math wrong and then corrected it, that could have been misinformation. We're floating, I don't know. I'm always worried about this stuff. Being a black man growing up here, now I'm not worried about it at all, but when I was younger, I was considered a monkey, a jigaboo, a spook. That's what I was. My brain was smaller than everybody else's brain. That was acceptable science back in the day. And then today, now, it's different. Now we're equals in that. However, there are some people that aren't equal. If the establishment wants to turn on you, they do. Look what they did in the United States and are continuing to do. We've seen it in several places where they will go after people. We saw, and they don't. They do once they sink their teeth into you, they've got the man and they're looking for the crime. So now they're checking even the toothpaste that you use. Some of the toothpaste may be illegal, and they didn't catch it before, but now they caught it when you were using the toothpaste. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's still a slippery slope. Because even with the example with the masks, like if there was documentation, studies on the masks don't really do anything. But so if there's actual studies, is it still misinformation if I'm quoting a study? Like it's I don't know. It's a very slippery slope to me to like have these type of laws.
And we shouldn't go to masks because that's a sore spot for me.
Yeah, me too. I can't breathe through those things.
But they called them face coverings. That's what we needed to wear. How does that help with protecting from virus? Like you need a very, very special mask. As a matter of fact, you know the
No. What you do, you get like 13 of them. So if you have 13, the holes are big, right? But when you have 13, and you layer. Yeah,
Listen.
yeah.
But
Listen,
so
one thing that the mask did was allowed dishonest people to get away with even more. Like
Because you can't see their face?
Yeah, because like you talk about in the Oshawa Center, 2-3 weeks ago or something, a bunch of teens went in and robbed a jewelry store, and they were completely covered. All you could see was these little slits. So, I mean, that's what
But
the
those
mask
aren't the
did.
same mask, though.
Yeah,
Those are
that's
like
not
that's
the
like a
same.
whole
Yeah,
full
but,
cover.
but it's acceptable, right? You can now. You're
I
not.
don't
No
know.
no one's judging you. Nobody's
No,
curious of what you're
if
doing.
you have the full, like you're pulling over your head, I think people are kind of
Orca mask.
yeah.
Or,
No, a
or
lot of
ski
people are
mask.
wearing them.
Ski masks. You know what? It's really odd because we do judge.
Balaclava.
When I see some balaclava, when I see someone walking, I saw a couple coming from the apartment there. They're together. Obviously, they're both wearing masks. They're walking there. They're going in their car. They're in their car with masks. I'm like, yes,
the one-
I'm judging them.
That's one that gets me when you're in your car with the mask still on.
I'm like, but I look at their mask and it's all crumpled on the side. So there's like you're gonna suck in virus. If there's a virus out there that's gonna kill you, you're sucking it in. And I'm just like, they're not offending me. They're not doing anything bad to me, but I still judge them.
Can I
got
can I
issues.
ask you a question?
Yeah.
And that was my ending actually. You have issues, but are they bothering you? Like, are they coming
No.
up to you and talking? And,
I don't think it's anything
and-
bothering
No,
them.
no.
And being verbally abused by
No.
them because you're not wearing a mask?
No,
Okay,
and-
so why are they bothering you then?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Am I allowed to answer it, or is it one of those rhetorical questions? So the thing is that I agree that they're not bothering me. What bothers me is the fact of how it all came about. That it came about with lies. Like, for example, the number of COVID deaths. We all know that number, or I don't know if we all know, but many people know that number was false. And it was getting bigger and bigger every day. And I'm not saying that COVID people made it false and there was a big conspiracy. No, it wasn't. The system was set up to actually increase the numbers. And what I mean by that is they were giving the hospitals extra money for every COVID victim that passed away. So then what happens at the hospital level? The hospital level is, we can get more funding for every COVID person. Can every COVID person? Immediately, it's just natural. Can every COVID person death be recorded as one? Well, no. But how can we increase that? And that's where the number started increasing. So they came up with new policies. Anybody who passed away and had COVID within the last 30 days, it's a COVID-related death. And it doesn't matter if they got hit by a bus, shot by a bullet, they had COVID less than 28 days ago or whatever, it's a COVID-related death. We had people who passed away in the hospital, and their families were saying that the hospital asked if they could record it as a COVID death when the person didn't have COVID. So we know these things were happening, and that's what I'm saying is that now we can't even trust the numbers. But then it got worse than that, because it got to the point where they're like, it's Randy, he doesn't. But then it got worse than that, because then it got to the point where they would not even allow, if you had COVID and you may have built up antibodies, that didn't matter. And this is the first time in history where that didn't matter. All of these little things were coming at us in a really strange way. And you know what, I feel, we got to be concerned about this C11 bill, because we have to be concerned about the way in which they handled COVID, and anybody that was involved in the COVID related business, doctors and all that they weren't allowed to speak out and tell their truths. They could only follow this truth, which we all found out now is not really a truth. And, it is what it is. But I want to move on.
A few emails, but then we can do that.
Okay.
One from early in the show was from Hank, basically saying that we're being mean to Jackie. So he's saying, "Hey, you're home. Be nice to Jackie."
Thank you, Hank.
And he also ended up with "She rocks." All right.
Who said that?
That was
Hank.
Hank. That was Hank.
Can we block that IP address, Gary? Hank?
And
We can block that.
Also, this here's one that might get us blocked or canceled. This is from Kelly. Kelly says, "Hey, I see your team sold a house to Tiff," and then she sent an image of a jail cell.
I don't think he should go to jail. That's a little extreme.
Yeah, but how long, it's just like Trudeau, how long are you letting them be able to make these decisions? Like, how long are Canadians going to allow this? Like,
The Canadians can't do anything about the governor making. He's
no,
appointed,
but
he's not
yes,
voted
by
in.
Trudeau.
By
I think it's
Trudeau,
more of
yes.
demonstrations, and like that's all we really have. Demonstrations are voting, but another one from Eric. Go ahead.
Unacceptable behavior, that would be.
Demonstrations? You can do
Yep.
demonstrations as long as you're not
The truckers,
violent.
it was unacceptable behavior, so
I guess,
if they don't approve, you.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want to you. That's the bottom line.
All right, from Eric. Canadians are livid about the Bank of Canada ruining the financial health of this country. According to Will Long, an independent financial analyst on Bay Street, Toronto, the BOC is basically ruining our financial lives, which is ruining our personal lives. Some of us, it is getting tough with all this crap going on. And one more from Kim. Kim says, subject line is World Economic Forum. Hello, real estate folks. This country here, Canada, is going to be a globalist state, which is considered a communist country. And that is where we are headed. You can thank the World Economic Forum, of which Trudeau loves and is part of. Their mantra is one world economy, one world currency, one world rule. Time to vote these lunatics out.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to vote that out. They're too entrenched.
Trudeau and the Liberals?
The World Economic Forum. Just like I was dead set against who. Like I don't know. I just can't believe how incredibly corrupt some of this stuff seems. But I mean, I don't necessarily say that they are corrupt. I'm just saying that it seems quite corrupt when you're blocking other point of views, which actually seem to be 100% logical.
To block other views?
The views that they're blocking seem to be logical.
Okay.
Like for example, I have an issue. If I
You have one issue?
yeah, I have one major issue. If I know and I do the research that actually the size of the hole that the mask must be in order to prevent the virus from coming through, I'm just saying, then that becomes the word, so 0.001 microns. When you get masks that are 0.05 microns, the holes are too big to prevent the
I'm not saying you're wrong on that one, but you have to be careful when you say, because I know during COVID, a lot of people said they did research. Like, I'm not saying this was you, but like doing research, if you're just on the internet, can again bring you down some alleys, and like you never know. 'Cause remember, with the internet, anybody can post anything, make it look nice, and say
I'm
it's.
not looking at people's posts. I'm researching information like what is the size of the virus? What size holes do you need in your mask to prevent the
But
virus
it's still
from
somebody
coming
else
in?
produced it, so you are reading from
No,
other
I'm
people's
not
posts.
saying you're wrong. I'm just saying where you're getting information from, right? If it's yeah.
Yeah, so then you find out, so for example, one of my best friend's wives, she is in the care for elderly. She's in management there and that, and they have the KN95 masks, which they say work very well. So I said, okay, great. So bring me one. So we went on a vacation. They brought one. What do I have to do? I have to look up that company, look up the mask, what's the size of the holes, and these are the best ones, and they're 5 times bigger than the size of the virus. The holes, and it's the KN95. So I lose my crap. Because I can't even think now. I can't hold a logical conversation with anybody because they need to first admit that those masks will not prevent. And then here I am walking around being crazy. And so I've got the issue. So when you have, and this isn't like researching what Johnny said or anything like that. This is doing research on the actual items themselves. But then you'll go now, and what you're talking about, now you'll go and you'll read these articles that say that it reduces the chance of catching the virus. But you got to go on and you read why, because as you spit out droplets, the virus is held within those droplets. So therefore, you're stopping it from spreading because you're stopping the droplets from going out of the mask. That is so hilarious, especially when we know that the virus is airborne, and that it's unbelievably crazy.
When it's airborne, what does that mean though?
It means that you can breathe it, it can sit in the air, and you can walk through it, and it can sit in the air. It's lighter than air.
So it can sit in air, so it's not basically as a particle, like in a droplet. It's just there.
It could be in droplets. That's correct. So that part of it is all right, but that's not the part where we're spreading. We're not spreading the virus because we're going spitting on each other. We're spreading it because it's in the air. And guess what? It's better outside to be outside than it is to be inside. But we're locked inside. This is, it's too hard to actually, and we would take up 15 shows to go through this.
Wait, I know we're not going to stay on this for too much longer, but if you're inside and no one in the house has COVID, should COVID not be in the house then?
It probably shouldn't be, but it could get in the house.
Yeah. But it has to get in from outside. But when it's outside, it's less likely to be. It's more dispersed, I guess.
Yeah, but we do know what were the times when COVID was the highest? Well, here in Canada, it was during the winter, during the times when we weren't allowed out. So how'd that go? How did it spread from house to house and be the largest numbers ever? Because we were frontline warriors, because we were realtors, so we were allowed to go out. So you go on the street, go on the highway, and there was nobody on the highway, but COVID was ramping up like crazy.
Well,
so how was that happening?
I know we're kind of taking a lot of time on this, but I think part of the issue too was because remember, I'm not sure. Well, you probably want to during COVID. Like whenever you went out during COVID, even though they tried to have these like you can't go in, all it did was make more congestion. Right, because any store you went to, there's lines going around the corners.
Yes.
Like it was crazy. I remember I would go to Costco in Ajax, and you'd have to again. I know a lot of people listening are from around the area, but like you're literally lining up around the store to get into the store. So you're waiting, and you're waiting for half an hour to get in the store. And there might be less people in the store, but you're still congregating with all these people. So the whole thing was just stupid, to be honest.
It was really silly, and some of the policies that they made it worse for you. It made it easier for you to catch COVID. For example, like you just said, closed down all the stores and herd everybody into the same ones. Well, there you go. That is pretty stupid, and better chance of us catching
And
it.
then
'cause we all gotta
and then
go
you
to
close
some
half the
place.
stores too. So like,
Yeah, and close the store, so there's the variety is not there anymore. So now we go, and then like I had said before, is with the bathrooms. Well, you cut off every second stall, so now everybody has to be herded into less stalls. So you're increasing the chances of us walking into COVID there again. These kind of stupid things. You go into the dollar store and they've closed off certain aisles. Like if you're gonna catch COVID because that aisle is open, it's just some really stupid stuff that we actually said we're following the science. And I believe it was the same science that when I was a kid, that black people's brains were smaller than everyone else's. It's the same science. Anyways, let's move on.
well, we have one more. It's probably gonna maybe take us down another rabbit hole, but this is from Tom. Tom says, subject line astounding. Randy is absolutely right on the COVID issue. So many doctors have come out and stated exactly what Randy has stated. If you died of a heart attack or cancer, etc., and had COVID, which did not affect the death, the government recorded it as a COVID death. The lies are astounding.
Because they got money
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah.
Follow the paper trail
But that part of it was understandable, I think, where
as a business. Right?
well, as a business, your job is to bring in the most amount of money. So I don't fault the hospitals. I fault the bright minds that created the policies, because they weren't that bright at that time. I think what happened is, and yes, I agree that doctors are amongst the smartest people in the world. However, they are amongst the smartest people in the world where it comes to their field. When it comes to running a country or economic policies, they're nowhere close to the brightest people in the world. And for us to be having them running our policies and running the country, I think that was our big mistake there. And then because the scientists and the doctors were running the country, then they were making some really crazy policies and trying to pretend now that those were based off of science, when there is no science that could ever support a lot of the stuff they were doing. Face coverings, there's no science. The only science is that you can't spit as easily. That's the only science. And then you say, oh, well, the virus is caught in the spit, so you're preventing it.
All right, that's a lot. All right, so back to the real estate news. So,
Yeah.
if anyone trying to get into a house right now knows that the market's been crazy for the last 2 years, to be honest, up and down. You never really know what's happening, but it's very hard to buy a house right now. We're kind of getting back to the point where you go to look for a house, you love the house, and then unfortunately there's 50 other people who love that house as well. And instead of being $1 million home, it now sells for maybe 1.2, 1.3, which might be out of your price range. So a reason for that could be because of, again, a recent article I read was talking about the population in Canada. And apparently the population of Canada hit 40 million on Friday, which
Wow.
is, 40 million people. So we're kind of pushing up. I know we're generally always around 30 million-ish people. But we hit 40 million people, which would have been yesterday. And a lot of this is because of immigration. And our population growth is actually outpacing all other G7 economies. Right, again, because of our immigration, it's I guess much easier to get into Canada than some other countries, which again, not necessarily is a necessarily bad thing. Immigrants can help our economy, but while they help our economy, they also need somewhere to live, right? So if they need somewhere to live, they're looking for a house, while people who are already here are looking for a house, which again, supply and demand will push your prices up most likely. And that's not saying that's the only issue with our prices right now, but it's also not helping, right? So if we have a lot of people coming into the country, they do need somewhere to live, whether it's to rent or to buy. So basically, there's a few stats for you guys. In 2022, Canada's population grew by more than 1 million people, marking a population growth of 2.7%, which is the highest rate since 1957, when the population grew by 3.3%, right? And this was more due to a baby boom and a surge in immigration. All right, so immigration also continues to be a significant factor in population growth. In 2022, 96% of the population growth was due to permanent and temporary migration, right? So if these trends continue, our population could reach 50 million by 2043. So a lot of people coming into the country, and again, a lot of people, but not the house, I guess, building or house infrastructure needs to find a way to keep up with it so that our house prices don't get even more ridiculous than they are already. I'm not sure what you guys think about that statement or those trends.
Well, I mean, I will admit that right now there is a big push. They're starting to see the issues that they have with housing. The problem that I have with the way in which, because I guess all the same problems, I think some of this is kind of good and some of it is not so good. It's not going to be good for families, but it'll be good for beds, getting the number of beds out. Because remember, right now what they're doing is they're giving more beds, so small units, which won't work for families. They're allowing all the homes in Toronto to be converted into 4 units automatically. The zoning is automatically there. This is a big move, especially for investors. This is a big play. They're allowing ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units now, it's a big push across all the municipalities, which basically means that you can have another structure on your lot, depending on where you're located, how that structure could be accessed, and things of that nature, some building permits and that. But these are all big changes that are coming to help to offset and increase the number of beds, offset the aggressive immigration policies, and increase the number of beds. However, this is not going to increase our quality of life. You see, this is one of the problems that I see, and I mean, it could just be limited because, you know, I've been happily married for 24 years now, is it? 24 years. And we have 2 wonderful children, which we still enjoy and
Happily
love.
married?
Happily married. And the thing is that we wouldn't be able to do that in this future that they're building of 500 square foot apartments. 500 square foot auxiliary dwelling units.
Let's take it to another level,
That
though.
wouldn't support our family.
Right, but let's take it to another level where millennials are saying, like not all of them, but they're saying, like our kids' generation, which is the early 20s, are saying, why would I bring a child into a world like this? So,
That's unfortunate.
yeah, but I'm just saying, like that's the way it is, and it's almost like, yeah, because what kind of life will your child have, right?
Your life will have the child that you give it. This makes. Don't get me wrong. This
You
makes
just
life.
said that backwards.
The life will have the child the child will have the life that you give
There
it.
you go, you got it right.
Yes. And so, you know, having children, I think, is a wonderful thing. It is tough, and I believe now it's tougher than it ever has been. And I honestly believe that we should probably consider having a different government put in place that would take these kind of policies seriously. Because if you listen to the current government, they actually think everything is okay and all that stuff, and life is kind of good. Yes, there's some pain, but you know, you got to have pain for progress. I think that at some point right now, while they're looking at the emergency, the number of beds, they should also be looking at quality of life. So QOL. Let's do this.
A new acronym.
QOL. Let's make it a new acronym so it makes it into these ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, and all that stuff, bylaws, where we're actually building family homes. So it's good to have beds, but we also want to consider having families as well. And so I really do think that you know, while it's nice that they're putting this push on, I think they should also put the push for families.
I think the issue too is that I think most people want to live kind of in the GTA, right? And they don't want to go too far out. Because I'm sure there's room for more homes farther east, farther west, farther north. But it's just people want to generally be more, I guess, close to the action, right? So
Close to the jobs.
that too.
Yes.
Yeah. So we might have to have more of a push towards the online online jobs as well. I know a lot of companies are trying to get away from that now, getting people back into the businesses, but we might have to kind of be more willing as, I guess, an economy to have, I guess, more work from wherever you are type of thing.
And
Depending on the job.
I think that on its own is gonna backfire. And here's the reason, is because, once you start going, and the jobs are all, and this is what people are gonna find out as they're doing this, that they only wanna work from home and be remote and all that stuff, jobs are gonna go to India, jobs are gonna go to China, jobs are gonna go where the
Labor's
companies can do it, instead of paying you $100,000 or $70,000, whatever, they're paying $20,000 for just as good and sometimes even better work. So you got to be careful what you ask for, because there's consequences to that as well.
Yeah, just kind of touching on what Anthony was talking about with the not enough homes. I went on Stat Canada, and actually they said between 2000, so this started happening 2019 when these issues started to become big, right? Or in my eyes. So between 2019 and 2021, the population rose, I'm going to round it off, okay? 84.5 people, 84,000, right? But the number of properties that increased was only around 61,000.
You have to be careful though with that, because you're kind of, the population rose up by 1.3%, but the stock increased by 3.5%.
Yes, but it was still,
But people
Disproportionate.
versus properties, right? You don't necessarily have one property per person, right? So are these families? Are these? It's just, again, you have to be. I'm not saying you have to be careful, but like the numbers there, it's. You're
yeah,
kind of playing
I
with them a
see
little
what
bit.
you mean, because if 5 people came in, they only need one home if it's a
Maybe
family.
if it's a family of 5, yeah.
It
Yeah.
depends on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
5,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 of us here, so we only need one home? Well, no.
Well, no,
No,
but
he's
but
not saying
but if the
that, but
population
I
grew by
get what he's saying,
81,000,
yeah.
you don't necessarily need 81,000 beds or homes. You might
Homes.
need
81,000 beds.
beds, but not homes. But that was dwellings.
Yeah.
She was
Unless they all
Yes.
marry each other, then you only need half the number of beds.
Well, that's my point. My point is, if you have 81,000 people, you don't necessarily need 81,000 dwellings.
Right.
It'll probably be because I'm assuming, again, it's assumption, that these aren't all single people. Some of them will be
Well, yeah, of
family of 2,
course.
family of 3. Some will be a family of 1. Yes. So
Yeah.
and yeah.
I
all I'm
would
saying.
feel very strange if a family of 4 came, because I wouldn't have a clue where, unless they came with money, where are they gonna stay?
All right. Before we have 2
The
emails.
government's putting on.
2 emails that came in. So before you go, this one I kind of left because I knew it would take Randy down another channel. So this is from James about masks. Hey Anthony, the only masks that work for COVID were actually masks that contractors and painters use for fine microscopic particles, and they became in very short supply. For example, 3M dust and particle masks, which I don't think those would even work for the flu. But the basic masks that were pushed on people in this world did not work. However, those masks were reserved for medical professionals and first responders. So yeah, James, I agree with you to a point, but I think even those masks you're referring to wouldn't really work for the virus. They would probably be better than what we were wearing, but I don't really still think as effective as what we would need to fully stop it. And then finally from Lisa, subject line, it is coming. Hello, Real Estate Show. I work in independent research, and about 7 months ago, we did research on the real estate market of the world. I know that you will not agree with me, but the real estate market will be gone within 5 years. The way that the world is going financially will not allow folks to purchase or maintain a home and a mortgage. It will be a one world forum with folks just renting their homes from government. It will not be allowed to own real estate or property. If you're into real estate, get into something else.
Well,
You know what? I can't
Dan.
even argue with that, because it's conspiracy stuff. But it's very possible with the prices and the way things are going right now. There'll be. I'm not sure if there won't be any real estate, but there'll certainly be a lot less people owning.
And how would that work too? Like if you already own a home, is the government going to take it from you? Or are they giving you market value? There's a lot of stuff
There's
to
a
unpack
lot.
there.
And for that to happen in 5 years, it sounds harsh. But but I do hear where you're.
I would
coming
agree
from
with
there.
that. It'll be a lot harder for people to get into the
Into the
housing,
market.
right? If you don't have a home, then yeah, unless you win the lotto or you do some kind of crazy business venture and make a couple $1 million. Because right now, again,
even the CMHC really isn't even a thing anymore because CMHC only works for homes less than $1 million, and there won't be houses less than $1 million for too much longer. So unless they increase CMHC to higher values, you're gonna need at least $200,000 to get up to buy a home, right?
Yeah.
And to save $200,000 while paying a $4,000 rent or $3,000 rent is gonna be kind of hard for people, especially if our income does not start to increase at a faster pace than it already is.
Well,
That's the show, but I did have something interesting to talk about, a new concept in housing again, so I'll do it next week.
It's
So y'all
interesting.
better come back to hear this, because this is a very unique project that's starting in Gray County, Blue Mountain area.
okay.
Look at you with the segue.
Sales are up 24%. Average price is down 1.2%, which is pretty interesting. New listings are down 18.7%, which basically all that means is that we don't have enough inventory to support our increasing sales. That's what that means. If new listings are down 18%, but sales are up 24%. That is not a good sign for buyers. That's why the sales to new listing trend is 51.5%, which is really heading towards a strong seller's market. Active listings are down 23.1%. Months of inventory is only 2.2%, so it's still in the seller's market range. Average sales to new listings is 105%, which means that if you were looking at a home, be prepared to pay about 5% more on average throughout the entire GTA to be able to acquire that home. Homes are selling a little bit slower than they were last year. However, that mainly has to do with the fact that they're not allowing offers until offer day. So they're holding back the market that way. So that's our one little minute wrap up there. And we really appreciate you guys joining the show. And you want to close us out?
All right, ladies and gents, if you have any emails over the weekend or over the week, send it to onair@yourteam.pro. We would love to hear from you. Catch our replay on YouTube to search for Your Team Pros. And as always, it's been your home, your money, and our lives on realityradio101.com. Have a great weekend.
Bye for
Bye
now.
for now.